Ever think about how one small act of kindness, like something totally unexpected, could actually turn into something huge? Like
Yeah.
something that really makes a difference?
Right, like a ripple effect.
Exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into this fascinating story. It's about this idea that started out small, like unbelievably small, and then, well, it kind of blew up.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're working with this text that really gets into how this whole movement started and what kind of impact it had.
It's a story that'll definitely make you think about how much power each of us actually has. Like those tiny things we do, how they can actually end up making a big impact.
Mm.
I think a lot of people's first reaction to this story is like, no way, how's that even possible?
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what the source tries to figure out.
So for everyone listening, what we're trying to do today is understand the heart of this whole movement. Like, what was the big idea? What were the things that made it spread like wildfire? And, in the end, what can we learn from this about how massive change can come from these tiny little beginnings?
Yeah.
So let's rewind to get to the starting point of all this.
Right. So the text tells us that this whole thing actually began as a school assignment, believe it or not, an extra credit assignment in a social studies class.
Really, a school assignment.
Yep. But it wasn't your typical homework. This student, a young boy named Trevor, he dreamed up something pretty amazing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What was it?
He envisioned a world, get this, without hunger, cold, unemployment, and even like a lack of basic stuff like transportation and loans.
Wow, talk about ambitious, huh?
Yeah.
Especially for a kid. No wonder people were skeptical. It's a huge leap to go from a classroom idea to tackling these massive problems, right?
For sure. The source really dives into this initial reaction. Like what was so special about Trevor's idea and the timing of it all, that made it take off.
Makes you think.
To understand that, we get these little glimpses into Trevor's world from the text.
Yeah.
Like they share excerpts from his diary, and you can see him trying to wrap his head around everything going on around him, thinking about his family and what he sees out in the world.
Right, so it helps us understand where his big heart comes from.
Exactly. It sets the stage for this empathy that really fueled his goal.
Okay, so then there's the teacher who gave this unusual assignment, Mr. Reuben St. Clair, right?
Yeah, Reuben St. Clair. The source describes his first meeting with a reporter, Anne, and right away you get the sense that he's a pretty private guy.
Camera shy.
Yeah, kind of uncomfortable with all the media attention. And the text even goes into detail about how he looks, describing his scarred face and this arm that doesn't work quite right.
They describe his appearance.
Yeah, what's really interesting is the text actually talks about how people reacted to his appearance. There's even this quote from Reuben himself, something like, "So it's not really what people see in my face that bothers them, it's what they expect to see and don't."
Ooh, that's deep. So it's more about our own biases than anything else, huh?
Right, exactly.
We project our own expectations onto people without even realizing it.
It makes you think.
It does. So back to Trevor. The source mentions this really touching moment where Trevor, just being himself, tells Reuben he has a good side. It's a tiny detail, but it says so much.
Oh, wow. Apparently Trevor was the first person to ever say that to him.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? It just shows how naturally kind Trevor was and how he saw people for who they truly were, not just for how they looked.
I think that's one of those things that makes his story so powerful. And it's with that genuine, heart that he came up with this pay it forward idea.
The text talks about how beautifully simple the concept is. Someone does you a big favor, and instead of paying them back directly, you pay it forward by doing a big favor for 3 other people, and you ask them to do the same.
Right. It's like a never-ending chain reaction of kindness, isn't it?
Absolutely. The source emphasizes the sheer scale of what this idea could achieve. One act of kindness becomes 3, then 9, then 27, and just keeps growing. It's a pretty amazing vision of how good deeds could spread throughout society.
Yeah, very inspiring. But was it easy to put this idea into practice, though? I mean, it sounds great in theory, but real life can be messy, right?
So true. The source definitely shows us that it wasn't always smooth sailing. Like, we meet this guy named Jerry Busconi. He's going through some hard times, and Trevor tries to help him out.
What kind of hard times?
Well, Jerry's own account, which is included in the source, is surprisingly honest. He talks about his struggles with addiction, losing his job, and being homeless.
That's tough.
It is. And he doesn't sugarcoat it either. He even says something like, "It's all bull. Luck has nothing to do with this. We did this to ourselves."
Wow, that's some serious self-awareness.
Yeah, it's powerful. But Trevor's mom, Arlene, she's understandably cautious about the whole thing. I mean, there's this scene where she catches Jerry messing with her truck in the middle of the night.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she thought he was stealing parts or something, so of course she was worried.
I can only imagine.
But Jerry explains that he actually got a daytime job so he could only help Arlene with her truck at night. He wasn't trying to steal, he was actually trying to get her more money by taking it apart himself so she could sell the parts.
Oh, wow. So it was a misunderstanding.
Exactly. It goes to show that things aren't always what they seem, you know? And sometimes good intentions get lost in translation.
It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
Speaking of good intentions, Trevor's kindness wasn't limited to just Jerry.
You're right. There was also his neighbor, Mrs. Greenberg. The source mentions how Trevor was always doing nice things for her, like taking care of her garden and helping her out with little things around the house.
He's like a sweet lady.
Yeah, and the text even includes this anecdote from someone named Terry. She ran into Trevor and Mrs. Greenberg at the grocery store, and she noticed how much joy Trevor's help was bringing to Mrs. Greenberg's life.
It's those small gestures that make a world of difference, huh?
Definitely. And Trevor's dedication to Mrs. Greenberg didn't stop even after she passed away. He kept looking after her property, making sure her stray cats were fed and her lawn was mowed.
Aw, that's so touching. He clearly had a big heart.
You can say that again. So as these acts of kindness start making their way out into the world, the source talks about how awareness starts to grow. More and more people are hearing about this pay it forward thing, and the media picks up on it.
It's becoming a movement.
Exactly. We even hear about this reporter, Chris Chandler, who starts following the story, trying to trace its path. It's clear that Trevor's idea is reaching far beyond his own little community.
So it's spreading organically, almost like a virus, but a good virus.
That's a good way to put it. And what's fascinating is that as the movement grows, the source points out that there are all these different accounts of how it actually spread. You know, we hear about people like Mitchell and Sidney G, and they each have their own version of who started the pay it forward chain in different places.
So it becomes hard to pinpoint the exact origin beyond Trevor.
Yeah, it's like this ripple effect where you lose track of the initial drop in the water.
But the underlying principle, the pay it forward part, that remains constant.
Absolutely. There's this quote from someone named Stella in the text. She says, "But that's what this is about. You never pay it back. You always pay it forward. Like what goes around even faster."
That's a great way to sum it up. It's about keeping that cycle of kindness going, making it spin even faster.
Exactly. And then the source shifts to Trevor's mom, Arlene. She's starting to realize the massive impact her son has had on the world.
I bet she was proud.
Oh, for sure. There's a part where she sees a TV news report about it, and it really hits her, you know? She sees all the good he's been doing and how he's built this life around paying it forward.
It's amazing how those little acts of kindness, like taking care of Mrs. Greenberg's cats and her lawn, they really add up, don't they?
They do. They show that he wasn't just talking the talk, he was walking the walk.
Sadly, the story takes a turn.
Yeah, it does. The source describes this tragic event. Trevor sees someone getting attacked, and he just instinctively runs in to help.
Oh, I know.
And, well, the outcome is heartbreaking.
I can't imagine what happened.
The source doesn't go into detail, but it's clear that Trevor doesn't make it. And then there's this incredibly poignant moment where Reuben remembers Trevor's last words. He said he was fine. He told me not to worry.
Wow. That's both courageous and devastating.
The text ends with this really powerful message from a news anchor. They're urging everyone to keep Trevor's memory alive by continuing to pay it forward.
A call to action.
Exactly. The anchor talks about the potential for this idea to grow exponentially and have a global impact, all stemming from Trevor's initial act of kindness. And they end with this thought-provoking question. Do you want a new world? Because it's not just one little boy anymore. 20 million people paying it forward. In a few months, that will be 60 million people, and then 180 million. In no time at all, that number would be bigger than the population of the world.
Chills. It's really incredible to think about. So what started as a simple school assignment, this one idea about selfless kindness, it actually seemed to grow into a worldwide movement.
It's a testament to the power of paying it forward, you know.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, did one young boy's vision, driven by compassion, really have the power to change the world, even in the face of tragedy? It's a question that stays with you.
It does, and it makes you think about those big favors they talk about in the story. Like, we may not all be able to solve all the world's problems, but it makes you think about how even those small acts of generosity in our everyday lives can create a similar ripple effect, maybe on a smaller scale, but still meaningful.
So what's one big favor you could do today to pay it forward?
It's a question worth pondering. In the end, this deep dive into the pay it forward movement leaves us reflecting on the incredible power of a simple but really profound idea. It shows us that real change can come from the most unexpected places, fueled by our basic human capacity for kindness.
It's a story that gives you hope. And it reminds us that even the smallest acts of generosity can have a lasting impact.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep paying it forward.
And remember, even the smallest act of kindness can make a world of difference.
Absolutely.
See you next time.